On the heels of the video I just did last night that said having no mortgage saves a lot of money. Comes this article from the Centers for Retirement Research over at Boston College. A mortgage payoff frees up money for medications. Sponsored by Pfizer. You ever see that ad? There's a YouTube video, probably not on YouTube because I'm sure they took it down. It said, CNN, sponsored by Pfizer. NBC, sponsored by Pfizer. That is classic. I'm sure it's taken down because that's misinformation. Actually, Big Pharma has sponsored a lot of advertisements, almost like Rockefellers back in the old Standard Oil days. Interesting. All right, so anyway, Centers for Retirement Research at Boston College. I like how they got their mask there. That's fantastic. Look, you got the little gap right there. Not very effective. Not going to say more because I don't want to be banned, but CRR, very notorious for scaremongering on the, no one has enough money to retire. All right. But this is a good article. Paying off the mortgage frees up a lot of money for other things, says there's no author's byline here, so I don't know who wrote it. The homeowners in one study splurged on big ticket items, but other homeowners are adding another priority, medications. After mortgage payoff, workers and retirees aged 50 to 64 spent 50% more on prescription drugs in comparison with households who had no major changes in their monthly housing cost, according to a new study by Harvard. All right, so 50. All right, we'll look at that a little bit because that, look, man, anytime they say 50%, remember, going from, I'm printing something off. I'm not sure why it's taking so long to print. Anytime you're going from 1 to 2, that's a 100% increase. All right, so this is why I always say with a Medicare premium increases, I got to use my shirt here, versus Social Security. All right, just let me give an example here. I know we're getting off a little bit off tangent, but don't get so freaking freaked out by the increase. Bro, my goodness, a 50% increase. All right, so you got $150 a month for Part B. All right, $150 a month. It goes to $175. All right, now, which is a $25 increase in Part B. $25 divided by 150. All right, so we got $25 divided by what it was, and I should build it. Was it 18.5% or something like that? 16%. That's a 16% increase in your Part B. 16%. All right, so everybody and their mom's gonna flip out. I don't have anything to wipe this up. I don't want to use my shirt because it'll stain. Everybody and their mom's like, "Oh my goodness, Social Security can't keep up with that." And then what we say is, okay, you have a $2,500 a month Social Security benefit, and it goes up by what was last year, 7%, something like that, by 7%. All right, times 1.07, which means $2,500 times 1.07. Now you have $2,675. So even though Social Security only went up by half of what Medicare did, that $25 increase in your Medicare Part B is more than dwarfed by the increase in Social Security because you've actually increased your Social Security amount by $175. All right, of which 25 is wiped out for Medicare Part B increases. So let me just make sure I got my numbers right before people start throwing arrows. 1.07. Yeah, there you go. So percentages. So if I go from 2 to 3, that's a 50% increase. If I go from 100 to 110, that's only a 10% increase. Well, it depends on what side of the balance sheet you're looking at or the income statement. All right. The mortgage is typically the homeowner's largest monthly expense. I wonder when anyone has said that. Oh, yeah, your buddy Josh has. I've been printing off down, man. If you're wondering when I'm printing off, this is a pretty cool book. This is by my man here I just found. I don't even know how I got this, actually, but it's awesome. I wish you'd stay on point. Yeah, well, you know, the ADD. Confessions of the Evolutionist by my man Haroon Yahya. And Haroon is a Muslim. He was born in Ankara in Turkey, or Ankara, Turkey. And so he's a Muslim devoted to the Muslim God Allah. You know, as a Christian, we're devoted to the Christian God. I have a sneaky suspicion we all have the same God. What I mean by that is there's only one God. You see what I'm saying? And the God who rules over all, heaven and earth, the universe and everything. I have a sneaky suspicion that at the end of the day, we're all going to be meeting our maker. And the point being, I love these Muslims taking on the evolutionists. And this guy's fantastic. I haven't read the book yet, but I just love how he's not trying to, like right here. A special chapter is assigned to the collapse of the theory of evolution because the theory constitutes the basis of all anti-spiritual philosophies. Since Darwinism rejects the fact of creation and therefore Allah's existence, God's existence, over the last 150 years has caused many people to abandon their faith or fall into doubt. It is therefore an imperative service, a very important duty to show everyone that this theory is a deception, satanic 100%. So let me ask you a question. Who are you more aligned with? My man here or the Darwinist evolutionists? I mean, this is where I take huge issue and umbrage with the anti-Muslim stuff. Muslims are more our brothers and sisters than the evolutionists are in terms of the fight against the lack of spirituality. Now, you might say, yeah, but ISIS, all right, that's fine. I get all that. ISIS, you say, oh my goodness, they're ISIS. Okay. Remember, my friends, there are what, 1 billion Muslims in the world? All right, 1 billion. If even 10% of Muslims wanted you dead, you'd be dead. That's just all there is to it. That's all there is to it. So you gotta, look, I fell for, and I know I'm going off a tangent here. I fell for it too. After September 11th, I said, a lot of us did. You know what I'm saying? You gotta snap out of that. Muslims aren't the enemy. They're not. When it comes to spiritual warfare, Muslims are not the enemy, my friends. Now, I know people say, well, the Quran says this. Well, I get all that. Again, if the Muslim population, even a small percentages want you dead, you would be dead because it's such a vast number of people. That doesn't mean you need to convert to Muslim. It doesn't mean you should freaking, all this stuff. At the end of the day, most people would say we got to marry within the faith. In fact, I would think that's even biblical. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, don't focus your enemy on that over here when they are your allies. They are. Be brothers. Now, that doesn't mean you have to join the National Council of Churches, the silliness, the Jesus Seminar, that's dumb. Doesn't mean you have to join the Interfaith Alliance, that's dumb. It just means, freaking, I didn't cuss, just to sound like that. I said, it sounded like I did not. Just as an FYI, because I heard it, I've never cussed on this channel, and I never will. But that doesn't mean you love your brothers as they are from you. You love them. Just like where Jesus commands. Fight the battles with your allies so you can take on the enemy, and the enemy's satanic with the theory of evolution. All right, let's go back here. In case you're wondering why I'm printing that. That was it right there. All right. The research is particularly relevant. All right. Oh, right here. The mortgages, we already talked about. If medication spending rises when this big bill is eliminated, i.e. the mortgage, it supports the argument that some aging homeowners who are still carrying a mortgage may be choosing housing over necessary medical care. The research is particularly relevant at a time when older Americans are entering retirement with more debt. In 2016, 4 in 10 retirees had a mortgage, double the share of the late 1980s. Okay, but look, you should pay off your debt before you retire, what I'm saying. But what that doesn't say is what's their net worth. It just says, oh my goodness, we have all this debt. You got to look at your net worth, man. It's just so, it's like half the argument. Drives you up the wall. In fact, even on some of the books I read, which are conspiracy theorists, I'm reading about the House of Rockefeller, and I'm not a big fan of jabs, and I find the efficacy of many jabs to be well overblown. But anyway, be that as it may. My man had written about the smallpox, and he said, the mass inoculation in the Philippines didn't have the desired effect of what we said. And then he says the tuberculosis caused a lot of American service personnel to die during World War I. And he dived a little bit deeper in there. There's another side of that argument too. Not to say that the vax is all encompassing safe and effective, but it's interesting because you're reading this, you're like, let me look into this. You recognize that they weren't able to identify a lot of people with tuberculosis. They tried to, but they couldn't do it as well. So when people died of tuberculosis in the United States military in World War I, well, a lot of them weren't because they got the jab. It was because they already had it, if that makes sense. It's very, and look, there's two sides to every story. Just keep that in the back of your mind. So the more debt thing inherently sounds risky, but if you kind of do some research, like, All right, not surprisingly, the research has found some indication that lower income workers and early retirees benefited from eliminating their monthly payments. You think? You had to do research for that. They have difficulty paying for essential expenses, and the increase in their prescription purchases after paying off the home loan appear to be larger for higher income groups with fewer constraints. They split their homeowners in two age groups, under and over 65. All right. While homeowners under 65 sharply increased their drug spending after the mortgage was canceled, the Medicare beneficiaries did not. Another reason for Medicare Part D. Look, we can argue all day long whether we should have it or not. We do. So stop the argument because it's here and it's not going away. The level spending after Medicare eligibility indicates that the program relieves some of the pressure on the family budget. I completely agree with that, 100%. It's costly, it's broke 100%, but it does relieve that. It's just a fact, man. It's not cheap. Medicare is not cheap. I'm just telling you right now. I usually budget for my clients about $550 a month for Part B, Part D, and a supplement and out of pocket per person. But for older homeowners who are too young to get Medicare but are still paying a mortgage, the study raises serious concerns about healthcare quality and the cost to treat poorly managed conditions. All right, so interesting because these guys do have insurance. So if they're getting inundated with not having insurance coverage for their prescription drugs, what's the point? So let's just take a dive. I just want to look at this new study. Older Americans out-of-pocket pharmaceutical spending after mortgage payoff. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to pause it real quick. All right, so they let's see. All right, interesting. So this is a good piece of data right here. Let's see. The share of homeowners age 65 and older with outstanding mortgages doubled from 1989 to 2016, while the outstanding loan-to-value ratio tripled. Yeah, that right there says that is a problem. All right, because they have less equity than they did in 1989. Now, that's still, you got to look at their total net worth in terms of liquid assets. They might have been saving money on a side account. I don't know, but that would be a concern right there. So kudos to these guys here. That's again 2016. We review this today. I can assure you. Well, I don't know. I would presume that the LTV, loan to value, and that's just how much you owe versus the fair market value of your house, your appraised value, basically your basic fair market value of your home. That's interesting. That's not good. I don't like that at all. You're over 65 and you only have the 60% equity. That's concerning. All right. Findings suggest that out-of-pocket pharmaceutical spending increased by 25% for all households that paid off their mortgage. All right, so 25% for all households that paid off your mortgage. That's interesting. That's not that huge of a number, but that's 50%. I think they said 50% if you're under the age of 65. Yeah, right there. So 50% for households whose residents were roughly between the ages of 50 and 64. Now, again, we got to look at what exactly that consists of, right? So we got to check that out. Hold on a sec. This right here is fantastic. It's weird they don't see it like I do. Following a decline in the ability to perform ADL, that's the activities of daily living, so there's 6 of them, essentially, without assistance, housing wealth declines at an estimated $12,000 on average for a married couple. We're told that we're going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Following the ability to basically not do this, bathing, transferring, what else, eating, all that kind of stuff, the average housing wealth declines by $12,000. Okay, that's not that big of a deal, and that's just for people who can't do those ADLs. And they call that a health shock. Older adults experience a health shock are more likely to liquidate housing assets. So that's freaking hugely positive. Older adults with a new health shock will borrow against their mortgage to cover the cost of care in the short run. While terms of length differ by age, a health shock will add, for example, a quarter of a year to the mortgage term of a 6-year-old. Okay, that's 3 months. The death of a spouse, particularly associated with wealth drawdown, likely impacts housing and borrowing. Yeah, it's a should. This right. Households are considered cost burden if they spend more than 30% of their income on housing. So basically, everyone who's got a mortgage right now is basically house burdened. This doesn't make any sense. The debt to income ratio for a typical, the rule of thumb is 28% DTI. Right now we're sitting at about 25%, But I mean, 30% debt to income, that's a lot of people have that. And that's way, way too conservative. But I agree with this. Evidence suggests that severely cost burden older households who spend more than 50% of their income on housing. You shouldn't. That is definitely overly house burdened. You got to also wonder where they're getting their income. Are they using the stupid current population survey from the Census Bureau? Because we know that's incredibly subject to problems. All right. Between 2008 and 2012, prescription medication represented 16% of non-nursing out-of-pocket expenses for adults 55 and older, or $760 in 2014 cost. So if you increase that by 50%, that's only increased by $320. All right, I have to do this. This is a good, I like this. How they couch it though is, come on, man. Come on, man. This share is fairly consistent across age segment for older adults 55 and older, likely related to the similarities in prescription drug coverage between employer-provided insurance and Medicare sub. All right, just not that big of it. 1/3 of older adults are estimated to take less medications than they were prescribed as a strategy to avoid out-of-pocket costs. Maybe because they're freaking scared crapless because of the negative data. On average, older adults pay 20% of their medical costs out of pocket, amounting to roughly $2,700 and $2,004. I don't know what to tell you, man. This I just saw right there. What did I just see? All right, Medicare beneficiaries with employer supplements or who enrolled in Medicare HMO spent $1,600 less in out-of-pocket than traditional Medicare beneficiaries alone. So have some more to dive into here, but all right, so it's an increase in 50%, but it's only from 720? There's some more freaking fear-mongering. All right, love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you